Aaron on the line. Say hello, Aaron.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron. How are you going?
Yeah, good.
Through the marvels of technology, we've finally connected ourselves across the Nullarbor. So well done to everyone involved.
Took a while.
Now there is a bit of a delay because the signal has a long way to travel, but we'll just be mindful of that when we're talking, that we'll accidentally talk over people, and it's not deliberate. So sorry, Aaron, I just did it to you.
That's all right.
Okay, so for today's meeting, it's part 2 of what we did on Friday, and what we're going to do is we're going to take you through a very brief overview of Scout as a bit of a refresher for yourself, Anna, but also to introduce Philomena and Tamara. So they have a...
On now, so...
Who, sorry?
Make it, so it's Chloe.
Hello, Chloe.
HR business partner.
Okay, no, that's cool. All right, so for Chloe and Tamara's benefit, you'll have seen Scout for the first time today, but it will be a very short demonstration because the main focus for today is actually to go through the Cognology solution, which is where Aaron will come in, and so I'll hand over my desktop to him because he's in a different office in Melbourne today, and we'll try and aim for around about an hour. Okay, everyone?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so you can all see my screen. So what we're going to do to begin with is we're going to talk about the candidate experience in terms of how a candidate will actually apply for a role. So at the moment, this is your website, and you've got roles on the go, and at the moment that's linking through to Seek.
Yeah.
And what the aim is with Scout is that we'll actually integrate the Scout system with your website. So that will make it easier because you only have to update the job in one place, but then that will also simplify the candidate experience as well. So just to demonstrate that for you, I'm going to just bring up a few clients of mine in WA. One of them I actually want to show you, which is probably a really good example of a good website in terms of the way we've set it up. This is actually the career site for Aegis. I'm sure you've heard of them. They're quite a large aged care provider in WA.
Yeah.
And we've actually integrated with their website, and we do most of that work. So there's very little effort required on your part or your IT part. And we're very big on the branding. So let me just bring up a particular role, the Physiotherapist Role. And for each role that you create in Scout, we actually create a unique job advertisement, and we do all the branding for that. So all of your information, the color schemes, your logos, all of that stuff will be done by us. And that will be the same regardless of whether they go through your website or they go through Seek.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the actual application process, and I just want to iterate, that's a really strong point for us. So the way that it appears on your website can actually be modified by us. So I'll just give you one other example while I'm here. Swancare is another example of an organisation in WA. This is actually their career site that we've done for them. And you can see that the way the roles are listed is quite different, but we've done all of that work, and that's all part of the implementation of Scout. And then in terms of the actual application process, let's just get back to this physiotherapist role. So when a candidate wants to apply for the role, they can fill out these details. That can be automatically populated with their Seek or LinkedIn profile. And one of the key points of difference with Scout is they don't need to register or to log in or to remember a password from eons ago. They simply just apply with their Seek profile. That automatically populates this information, and then we move on to the questions. So the applicant completes these questions. There's not many of them, but that will help with the screening process in terms of being able to knock people out, maybe flag people of certain interest. Maybe they've got a highly desirable skill, but we can also automatically rank them based on things like experience. So the greater their experience, the higher their score. And then on the next page is essentially where they include their attachments and any other documentation. And one of the other key points of difference for Scout is you can actually specify what attachments you want them to include. So some roles you might want to see a copy of the Cert 3 certificate or something along those lines. You can actually specify it. And the attachments and the questions that you ask are set at the job level. So different jobs can have different questions.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's now just jump into the Scout dashboard. So this is your place. So this is where you live. And we will configure this to suit. So I've personalized this today, but that's what we'll do as well as part of the project. It's not hard to do. And there is a HR view, and there's also a hiring manager view. So it's another key point of difference for Scout in terms of the fact that you can manage the process in terms of seeing a global view of everything, but then also your hiring managers will only see the information that's relevant to them. So they have a much more simplified view, and they can only see the jobs that they're looking at, that they're responsible for, and they are literally one click away from seeing all the applicants for the role. Now, if I just...
Yeah.
Which one was that, sorry?
I don't know if we want Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'm going to have a status called terminate. So, you know, now I'm back in the HR view, and of course the HR view you see everything, so this is exactly the same list, but these statuses are all configurable, and yeah, we'll have one of them called terminate, not offered role. That's ridiculous. So I'll just quickly go into him, and we'll just we'll make him ineligible for whatever reason. So that's quickly fixed. Quick smart.
Thank you.
No problems. Now, just reinforcing that our entire system is completely mobile optimized in terms of applicants and in terms of you or your team accessing the system. So, for example, accessing it on an iPad as well, very convenient. Now, in terms of the candidate screen, I'm just going to probably take you through just a couple more things before I hand over to Aaron, but I might also just give you a couple of minutes just to ask questions. I haven't sort of gone through things like approvals. There is a built-in approval system in Scout so that you can have the hiring manager submitting their requests to hire. That can flow through to the appropriate people, and you can have multiple approvers. It comes back to you once it's ready to go, and then you can actually create the advertisement in Scout. I haven't shown you how to create the role in Scout. That's a pretty straightforward process. We use position templates or the ability to copy roles. So you might just copy the last time you had a particular type of role, make a few minor changes, and send it away. In terms of the interaction with your website, it's almost immediate in terms of immediately appearing on your website, and it's an automatic thing, so you don't have to go manually to your website. The role will go to the various job boards that you need to. And then every candidate has the same experience in terms of applying for that role. And then one of the nice things is you can come in here and you can see a real-time graph of where the applicants are coming from in real time. So we can see roles performing, so we can see applications per day, but we can also see where they're coming from, which I think is a really powerful tool to have. Because the key thing here is helping you to find good talent. We want you to attract more candidates, and you might think that's going to take you more time because it's more screening, but we've got that automated screening, and we'll work with you to ensure that you get the most effective way of screening that doesn't make it too hard for the candidates, but also makes it easier for you. And we'll use our experience to help you to just fine-tune that on an ongoing basis. So that you're going to the right places to find candidates, and we're helping you to screen to minimise your effort, and then making it easy for the hiring managers to manage the information, which is essentially this next screen, which is through the list of applicants, which I can sort by any of these column headings, you know, sort by rating. I can sort by status. and I can drill down to any particular candidate and be presented with all the information that's relevant to the candidate. So it's the same view that you have that the hiring manager has, where we can see their contact information, their activity and background information, their resumes, and the answers to those questions. And even this screen can be rearranged as well. So you can actually resort this. These sections can be reordered, and they are reordered at the user level. So a hiring manager might work a different way, and it can be reordered according to the individual preference. We've got nice things like being able to minimize the side menu to give you more work area. So it's a really smooth, easy interface. Now, the last thing to show you is essentially the integration to Cognology, the handover to Cognology. But before I do that, any quick questions over the next few minutes that you'd like me to cover today before I move on to Cognology?
No, I think everything. I think we've covered. It was just a real basic overview. Have you, just one question with regards to Scout, have you integrated with Pay Global before?
So that is actually a question for Aaron, and and they have.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's
and he'll
correct.
talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Well, other than that, I think it's quite self-explanatory, really. So it looks good.
Okay. I'm just going to show you one last thing, which is now famous last words in terms of preparation. Scout Demo 1. I just want to show you I'm just switching users, so this is not something that you would normally have to do. But what I want to show you is essentially once you award a job to somebody, John Rambo, there we go, there's a good name. Essentially, the last piece of the puzzle is that you'll change their status to offer offered the role and then offer accepted. But we've got this little button here now. At the moment, this is an integration that we have with HR on board, but it would work in a very similar way with Cognology. It's a real-time integration. Essentially, all we do is verify the mobile and the start date. The moment you hit submit, that information then automatically in real time appears in the Cognology system, ready for you to then take on the next part of the process, which is the onboarding part. And that's a real-time integration. So there's nothing for you to think about. You don't have to export a file, upload files and stuff like that. You're simply just confirming this information, which is important because Cognology will need the mobile number to send them information. They'll get their contact information, their email address, and the start date will be used in the contract creation. Okay?
Ron, just one quick question. We mentioned on Friday, did you manage to find out who you go through for police checks? What kind of
yes. Yeah, we use, interestingly enough, we do use a couple of companies, and one of them actually is Fit to Work, believe it or not.
Yeah. So obviously Mercury or
So, and interestingly enough, I had a chat with them about it, and what we do at employment offices, we actually manage the process in terms of getting these checks. So there's administration that you need to do, obviously, to enable these checks to occur. Like you've got to enter information into a system and manage that process. And employment office actually does all that stuff on your behalf. So there is an enhanced service that can be provided, but we can certainly talk about that.
Okay.
All right, so we're ready.
We can stick with,
sorry, Anna.
Just a quick one. So obviously we're using Mercury at the moment, Fit to Work, so we could just stick with that and have the enhanced service with regards to the administration side. Is that right?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I will look to provide a proposal for you that incorporates Scout and also based on 70 a month, based on these checks as well. But that will be an enhanced offering above and beyond what you're currently doing, which is where we'll administer some of the admin behind it.
Great. No worries. Thanks.
No, that's fine. All right. So I'm going to now flip over to Aaron and make Aaron the presenter. And I'm going to hand the ball over to you, Aaron.
Yeah, great. Let me see if I can share my screen with you.
I can see it.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
great.
can see it too.
All right, so again, just a little bit about Cognology. We've been around for over 20 years. Despite the accent that you hear, we are an Australian company, and we work with 250 plus Australian organizations as well as a handful of internationals. A couple of similar organizations we do work with, like Sun Care Community Services, another aged care. We do some work with New South Wales Health as well. So
Sorry, what
this
was
is
that
just from
last
our,
one?
sorry, New South Wales Health.
Sun Care and New South Wales Health. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. So this is just from our website here, just kind of a broad overview on our capabilities. But this is why we align really well with Scout, is we can really pick up that process right where they leave it off. So feed that right into onboarding and helping to automate that process through an easy online interface. Performance management processes as well, so those appraisal processes, be able to automate those. Competency Assessment 360 capabilities, so that's really about trying to identify the strengths and development opportunities for the people in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
Talent management, so that gets into like the talent profiling, the kind of that classic 9-box grid type capability. And we're seeing this becoming more and more relevant, the social and organizations becoming less hierarchical and much more collaborative. So we really see this as an important capability going forward. And full learning management capabilities as well. So kind of within that performance management, being able to extend that into full learning as well. The great thing too with these capabilities is we do offer a modular approach. So we'll touch on kind of the majority of this offering today, but you know, if the scope of your requirements is just around, say, like recruitment and onboarding, we have the capability to put forward a proposal that aligns with that. All right, before I just jump into the demonstration then, usually the one question I kind of get at this point as well is that there's certainly vendors out there that offer both recruitment and onboarding. Being that we've been around for about 20 years now, why haven't we gotten into the recruitment space? So we think it's a really strategic decision that we made there, and the reason being is that all these capabilities that you see here are really involving the people that are employees or that are part of an organization. And with recruitment, you're really getting into this whole different pool of people data and having to manage that. So we actually see more value being able to utilize like Scout, for example, a really great vendor in that space that's well developed there, just being able to link in with a simple integration and manage those two different pools of data in separate systems. All right, so I'll flick over to a bit of a demonstration. So based on our original chat back on Friday, I'm going to, just as a bit of an agenda on the demonstration, I'm going to divide it where I'm going to first just focus on that compliance piece. Just based on our chat, I understand that's pretty close to the top of the list in terms of importance. And so I'll focus on the compliance piece and how we can help accommodate for that as part of onboarding, but then how we can then store data in the system to be able to report on things like expiry notifications. After that, I'll come back and go through the kind of the performance and development piece, as well as touch on some of the collaboration and feedback capability. All right, so it's an online hosted system. I'm just going to log in first as this person up here, Kate Bennett. And in this case, she's a new hire to the organization. And as Ron had mentioned, we can just link in with Scout, and based on that trigger in their system, that can then create the onboarding process into Cognology automatically. Mm-hmm. So what you see along the left here is just an example I've configured of a fairly typical onboarding process, but we provide a really open-ended system to be able to design the onboarding process applicable for your organization. Mm-hmm. So how that might work is they receive, Kate here receives a notification, and she's able to click on a link to then take her into the onboarding portal. How this typically would work is this would probably just be configured where she just has access to maybe a welcome step in the contract, and it's not until she accepts that contract that will expose the rest of the process for her. So you can see in my example here, I've configured this so we can support things like embedded video, so really modernized content.
Yep.
Capture information like, say, like employee profile pictures, display important documentation, and we can even automate this and read from the hierarchy to display relevant team members. So really useful to really try to get people socially integrated with the business.
So can I just ask there at that point, so that your team bit, that would become exposed kind of before they started working so that they could familiarise themselves with who they're going to be working with on the first day, like who their team is going to be?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Again, we can pull this information from the hierarchy.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I'll just click through here and just to show some other examples that I've configured. Again, we can manage those employment contracts again, so really nice for HR to really try to help eliminate that paper process. For the new hire, being able to download and print this off, but I think most importantly, being able to do electronic online acknowledgement. And this has been built to Australian standards as a recognized form of acceptance.
Okay.
The next few forms I've configured here are just that typical data capture. So you can see personal details, don't want to run emergency contacts. I won't go through all of these here. But again, really helping to automate that process through the online onboarding system.
Yeah.
A really nice one for HR is like online policy acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And this is an example of I really set this up pretty basic from what you can see here. We can do things like work with images and videos like you saw before. And I think with what you mentioned earlier, you might do this as part of the recruitment process, but we can also accommodate for things like uploading required documentation as part of onboarding. So I've configured a step around gathering that police records check from the new hire. And as a way that you can upload that stuff directly through the onboarding portal.
And you have notifications when obviously you have to complete a new check, is that right?
You can. So you at the step level from the administrator side, you're able to set up notifications to this.
Yeah.
So they can be time-based by things like the date of hire, but you can do that for individual steps.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's just an example. We can see here I've uploaded a file, really easily accessible.
Yeah.
These next few steps I've configured are, again, really trying to be able to present information to new hires and a lot of them to really hit the ground running on day one. So as you can see, really modern type content that we can integrate into the onboarding process. Just to show a little bit of the flexibility in these steps here. Again, providing links in here that could fire off to things like helping them with transport. Some of these examples are kind of similar to this one. The other one that can be really nice as well, especially from a compliance standpoint, is being able to build any training for new hires into this onboarding process. So for example, I've got a step in here around bullying and harassment course that they need to complete. I touched on this on Friday. I'm not sure it was particularly relevant for you guys, but we do have integration with e-learning content.
Yeah,
this
that's
is a
good.
of an e-learning course, and just with the integration, you can pull up directly within Cognology. But this could be really a step for anything. So whether it's, say, like it could provide a link to do instructor classroom training that they need to do. It could be a link to a PowerPoint that's sitting on your internal servers.
Yeah.
All right, and then I've just configured an end step here. So this is just kind of a view from the new hire point of view.
Cool.
I'm going to log in as a manager, so I've just logged in as Lara. I'll just kind of show from the manager side what this can look like. Really just about having a dashboard. As Lara is a manager, she might be responsible for a number of different onboarding processes that could be in flight. I've just kind of configured this one example here, but the idea is you just have a list of multiple processes here, so it'd be really easy for her to have access to this. A really nice thing, particularly if you're managers, a lot of times for them it's really about what is it that I need to do. So being able to filter the dashboard just based on things that they're responsible for.
Aaron, can I just ask, whilst we're at this point, so if that's the manager's log on, if a manager has a PA that might help them with some of those bits and pieces, can they have proxy access?
Yeah, we can support processes that have multiple relationships. So you could have the EA have their own access as well.
Yeah. Okay.
One other useful thing too. Let me click into Kate's process here. So we're looking at the same process that we saw on Kate's end, but if you notice, there's a few extra steps in here. So we have the capability where you can configure, say, like steps that the manager is responsible for, not the employee. Perfect example would be like setting them up for success. Let's click on this one. It's prompting Lara as the manager what she needs to do as part of Kate's onboarding process.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, just given time, I'm just going to kind of wrap up there in terms of the onboarding overview. Any questions on what we've gone through thus far?
No, not so far. That's good.
Okay. I'm going to treat today as kind of pretty high level and just trying to get through most of the capability. And then if we kind of determine what's most of interest to you guys, we could always revisit it further in another demonstration.
Yeah.
All right. Then to finish off that kind of compliance piece, particularly around some of the onboarding stuff and things like capturing that police check or APRA, the other key capability that we have is kind of this concept of employee profiles. So we can see here I'm logged in as Lara. She can see herself and her team. If I click into Lara, we can capture these type of things. So I think particularly relevant from what we discussed on Friday, it could be recording things like skills and experience or qualifications or the licenses and certificates. So you could even have potentially like those police checks or the APRA or the visas that are in here with like date expiries to them. So let me expand this out. So this is a perfect example here where we've got a level 2 first aid certification. You can see we put the dates on here that it's valid for. And the two main use cases, kind of once you've got this data in the system, are, let me just go back to this kind of this dashboard view. You can see over on the right here that we're able to provide notification prior to expiry.
Yeah.
And you can have email notification to this as well. So we could have it configured to say, let's just, 2 months before the expiration of that, or when that police check needs to be renewed, the notification gets sent notifying that needs to take place.
Yeah.
The other nice thing with this as well, once this is in the system, is that you are able to search and find people with particular, say, like qualifications, for instance. So pull me out a list of people with that level 2 first aid certification. All right. So that kind of ticks off that compliance piece that I wanted to touch on as part of the onboarding and the profiles. I'll now kind of have a look at I know the performance management and development was of interest as well.
Yeah.
And it's such a natural transition from that onboarding process. So being able to do that as part of an integrated platform is really nice for new hires. But you can imagine kind of once they complete that onboarding process, that might transition to something like a probationary review, or even opening it up like an annual review that they need to start the process on. So again, I've logged in that system as Lara. And I'm just in the Reviews tab here. And what she sees when she logs in is just a nice simple list of reviews that she's contributing to in some fashion. We can see Kate here where she's contributing as a manager. So Larry is Kate's manager. Likewise for Brad, where she's contributing as Brad's manager. But you can see Gavin here where she's contributing as a peer. So we do have that full 360-degree feedback capability if that's something of interest. All right, let me click into Brad. So that's just kind of taking Lara to the different sections of Brad's review. Particularly relevant, though, the employee details that you see over on the right here. A couple of ways we can get this into the system, but one of those ways is simply to interface into Pay Global and automate how those are pulled over into the Cognology and kept up to date.
And that's just from the reporting lines in Pay Global?
Yeah, that's correct. So the most common approach into how we set that up is from Pay Global, you can export a report with your employee details into like a CSV file. And then we have a piece of technology that can read that export and do the import into Cognology. So it's really that whole process that we automate. And then for a lot of our clients that have that in place, we'll just schedule to have that run once a day overnight, keep everything up to date.
Yeah, that's like a flat file.
All right, the sections that you see over on the left here, this is, again, the piece that's really highly configurable. And I've configured this to a fairly traditional type of review process, but we can support really any number of processes. For example, we've had some clients that have moved away from traditional performance management to more of an agile type of performance management process. So instead of goal setting, they're much more focused on quarterly check-ins and ongoing feedback. So we really have the capability to really align to the process that you want to run. I'll show a few examples of the ones of what I've configured here. So with your current performance management process, do you do like the goal and objective setting and assessment?
We don't have one.
Okay.
We're starting from a low base.
That's all right.
The most recent thing that I heard is that we're building, but we just don't have a sewer pipe yet.
Yeah, no worries. Again, kind of our value proposition is just that really flexible system that kind of regardless of the process that you want to run, being able to support that in the system.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give you the idea of how we can do that, this is aligned to more of that traditional type of performance plan where you might be coming in here and doing some goal setting and then assess later on in the cycle. So you can see we've got these headings here. These are just easy ways to help group objectives. The template here is fully configurable. In my example, I'm listing out what this objective is, how we're going to measure it, and how we're going to rate it. And then we have a number of tools in here to really try to make it easy for managers and employees.
Yeah.
So for example, if I click copy from library, just ways that Lara can cascade her own objectives, copy from other team members, or even copy from like a library. So a lot of our clients would align this with a strategic plan for the organization, make it really easy for employees and managers to come in and pick and choose.
Yeah.
So just to give you one other view, since you're kind of still maybe figuring out what that process looks like, let me click into John Wright here. And you'll see rather than that performance plan, I've configured this one differently, where we've just got him set up with a quarterly checkpoint. So some of our clients use this, as I said, that have kind of moved away from that really formal goal setting to much more just being able to capture feedback and comments. So hopefully this just shows kind of the level of flexibility of this.
A bit more informal. Yeah.
All right, let me go back into Brad here. I'll just touch on some of these other sections that I've got configured. We can accommodate for a competency assessment as well. I know a lot of appraisal processes have some form of competency or capability rating. All this is configurable in terms of the rating scale, the questionnaire. If you are ever looking for content, we do have competency libraries. We provide them as part of our service, so you're more than welcome to pick and choose from our content, or we can use your own as well. The idea with this is it's really easy in an online system to be able to do the assessment. Just clicking through to next is taking me to the next competency. I won't click through all these, but you can see at the very end here, in addition to these rated statements and behaviors, we can also support open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Training and development, this is kind of that classic development plan, so being able to plan and document training and development activities. We can support the key functions that managers and employees might be looking to do. They might be able to plan or document some type of ad hoc activity. They might want to be able to browse what training is available from within the organization. Or if something's not available, how can they then request it?
Yeah.
I'll just show the browse function. This is just a list view, but really that concept of having a learning resource library integrated into your performance management system.
Yeah.
So again, make it really easy for managers and employees to be able to browse and pick and choose.
Yeah.
Flick over to the feedback tab. So really just a place within the system to be able to make notes, but make notes in the same place that you're talking about performance. We have clients that use this any number of ways. It could be the manager providing feedback to the employee and documenting it. Could be the employee providing evidence as he's going throughout a cycle. It supports attachments, which can be nice. If you can imagine, say, like an email from a client. But the one scenario we've really seen a lot of value from is being able to document one-on-ones or performance discussions. And so if Lara was to leave the business, for that new manager to be able to come in and pull history there, tremendous amount of value.
Oh yeah, fabulous.
So really simple and straightforward. I can come in here and make an entry. There's options to be able to keep entries private. And there we go. We've even built this out where you can update this just via email without even having to log in the system.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And can you easily print that for in the event that somebody was being, there were conduct discussions and performance management? Can that be easily updated? Or printed?
Yeah, you can run reports from like the admin console, say, to pull all the data out of the feedback file, for instance.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, we just lost connection. Are you there?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
All right, we're back.
Just to answer your question, yeah, from the admin console, you can run reports on the feedback and pull all the information out.
Oh, that's great.
All right, so I'm going to flick back to the review tab here. I'll just have a look at this from one more perspective, kind of what does this look like come review time.
Yep.
I'll jump into Kate, into her performance plan. So we're really flexible on how we can really accommodate for the process that you want to run. But a typical one we see at a lot of clients is first they might want Kate to do a self-assessment. So she can receive a notification at that appropriate time of the year. And we can see here where Kate's recorded her achievements and ratings. Once Kate's done her piece, maybe Lara, as the manager, receives that notification. She's able to come in here and do the same. One thing I always note, though, a lot of our clients do have it configured where, at this stage, Kate might not be able to see Lara's comments. The idea is you can still drive those face-to-face meetings, and the system can support that process.
Yeah.
All right, scrolling down, they've done that for each objective and then provide an overall rating for the plan. A lot of managers really like this next section, the overall performance result. Allow Lara as the manager to get a quick view of where is Kate compared to the rest of her team. But then some organizations we work with, they're really trying to get to some sort of overall result from the process. And so that ability to, say, pull through results from the competency assessment and pull through results from the performance plan to come up with some sort of overall result.
Yeah.
All right, I'll touch on some of the reporting. So this is just an example of an individual report here for Kate Bennett. Reports are really configurable, but just to kind of talk through my example here, a lot of clients like to start off with something from the leader of the business, just maybe talking about the year ahead.
Yeah.
Here you can see I've kind of concisely summarized that performance plan. Pulled through that overall performance results section we were just in, and I've documented what the training and development was for the for this particular cycle. Now, here's where I think we really start to get some pretty useful data. This is from that competency assessment where the green bars were Kate's rated herself, compared to, could be an average of reviewers if you're doing 360, or maybe just the manager assessment. But you know, really useful just to see, well, where are the strengths and where are the best areas for Kate to work on.
Yeah.
We can really grow quite a bit more granular on the analysis. So let's go down to the behavioral level and identify the highest rated statements and the lowest rated statements. Pull through responses to those open-ended questions. Try to identify where Kate's blind spots are through variances. And then I won't go through all this, because you can probably gather looking at this. We can go into a high level of detail. Just depends how much detail you'd like on the report.
Yeah.
The one thing I really do like about this section, though, is a strong link right back into development. So it's kind of one thing to be able to get a report that's going to show what you might need to work on, but then it's really going to be up to the manager and employee to figure out what they might want to do to develop that. But if you have a look here underneath adaptability, you can see I'm actually presenting some learning resources to consider. And it's one of the biggest challenges that we've seen, especially with a manual process. You know, they sit down, it's a nice big empty box for development plan, and they really have a difficult time figuring out what they want to put in there. So this is just leveraging that learning resource library, and you're able to tag resources through to competencies, just making it really easy to present some things that they can have a look at, and they could pull it straight through to Kate's development plan just from the report.
Cool.
So that's a really big differentiator for us for how we can really start to link performance through to development. All right, probably just the last thing I'll touch on, just given time here. I'm just going to log into the same system as an administrator, and actually just two things I'll touch on. One is a couple of the reports. Real challenge we've seen for HR to figure out where in the process things are at. And we've seen it take weeks, if not months, to try to determine all that. So just a couple clicks there. So the report here is identifying who this employee is, what reviews are they contributing to, and are there any reminders. So straight from the system, I could tick the reminder, email it out. I could select them all and email them out, or we can even just fully automate this for you. So simply schedule this to happen maybe like once a fortnight, for instance. Plenty of useful group reporting then as well, once we get past that process challenge. It's probably my favorite report in the system here, this group strengths and development needs. You'll see it's a very similar chart to the individual report from Kate, but what we're doing in this case is running it across a group.
Yeah.
So this is exactly the data you're looking for to be able to go to senior management and have that discussion. Well, these actually are the strengths across the business, and these are the best areas for development.
Yeah.
And again, we can really go more granular down to those behavioral statements to have a further look.
Okay.
The last one I'm going to finish up on then is just the talent management. I recall on Friday you mentioned this could potentially be of interest with talent profiling or workforce planning.
Yep, definitely.
So really kind of that classic 9-box grid where you can start to plot, say, performance versus potential. This is configurable, so a lot of our clients, for instance, would pull the performance just directly from the performance plan, while the potential might be coming from either the competency assessment or maybe like a talent profiling questionnaire. But really useful to start to see, well, where are our top performers? Maybe start to do some career planning or succession planning with these folks. But just as equally, all these areas are just as important. The other view that we have to this that's really nice for further analysis, we call it the talent list. Exact same data, just in more of a table-based format. So this is useful to say, well, okay, someone's plotted at this place on that chart. What does that really mean? So being able to actually see the data that's sitting behind that. And a really nice capability. These are Cognology developed, but if we have a look at, let's say, Nikki Johnson, a high potential, low performer, we have these classification links in the system that link through to say, well, what are the types of things you might want to consider to try to see improvement?
Which is particularly
just given time. So just given time, I think I might just wrap up the general overview there. I'll just finish up with this in the design menu. Again, a really important piece where all the configuration can be done through the system itself. And I guess why that's important is that we'll do that as part of the implementation, but 6-12 months down the track, you will want to make changes, or you might even want to start developing new processes. You have the capability. You have the capability to do so through the system. So it's not custom coded. You're not going to have to pay a team of developers to come in and make changes to the system.
Yeah.
Any questions or anything you'd like to see a little bit more of?
No, not for me.
Okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, that's good for us, I think.
All right. Well, I guess I'll turn it back over to Ron here, but hopefully this is kind of giving you that broad overview. As I said, one of our benefits is we offer that kind of modular type of approach, so that if you'd like to limit the initial scope to that recruitment and onboarding and compliance, we can do that. But we certainly have kind of full talent management capability as well.
Definitely talent management. We want to, see how much all of that kind of, we want help, manpower planning, workforce planning, all of that stuff. So
we just don't have any current capability whatsoever. So you could give us the stock standard and we would be 100% happy.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, thank you for that. That's really interesting and very informative. And it sounds like you ladies over there in WA were enjoying that.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the next step, we obviously will need to provide a proposed solution to you. And in terms of Scout, as I said before, it will essentially be the Scout solution along with the compliance testing. And with the compliance testing, some of that's done pre-employment, some of it's done post-employment. And then in terms of Aaron's solution, the key parts to that is the onboarding and compliance, and then option
termination.
Sorry.
And all. Yeah. So basically, onboarding and offboarding and everything in the middle.
And then it seems to me like the options will be around the performance management and the e-learning capabilities. They're the optional parts, but the workforce planning was quite important.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key here in terms of we're providing a proposal to you that will give you some choices and options, both for now and also in the future, so that it's an ongoing process where you're going to evolve what you're going to use in terms of not only Scout, but also with Cognology. So, for example, with Scout, we may not get into talent pooling or talent communities just yet, but that might be something that you'll do down the track. And then in terms of Cognology, there's functionality there for now and also for the future, which I think is really what you're looking for.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
So, Anna, I need to give you a call tomorrow. I just want to just get an idea of the next steps are in terms of...
Yeah, so I guess...
So if I give you a call tomorrow...
Yeah, perfect.
That'll be okay?
Yes, that would be fine.
Awesome. And what we'll do is Aaron and I will both provide proposals to you, and we'll aim to get those to you in the next few days. Aaron, is that a reasonable time? How much time do you need?
No, that's fine.
Perfect.
Cool. Awesome.
Well, we look
All
forward
right.
to seeing that, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.
All right, thanks everybody for your time and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.